Welcome to Let's Make Music, the show for aspiring musicians. We'll talk about all things music and music creation, from our trials and tribulations to the rewards you get from learning, producing, and experiencing all that music offers.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Let's Make Music, your show all about music creation, content, learning musical instruments, songwriting, music history, and so much more. And hey, do us a favor, if you like the program, would you please leave us a podcast rating on your favorite podcast provider? And make sure you visit our website at Let's Make Music. You can be found at purplepitstudios.com. Go to purplepitstudios.com and check out the Let's Make Music portion of the website to listen to more episodes. And share us with your friends, won't you? We appreciate it. So on this episode of Let's Make Music, we're continuing on with the acoustic guitar as we're learning more about how to make music and learn the acoustic guitar on this episode of Let's Make Music. We're going to give you some practice tips, some things to watch out for, some pitfalls to avoid, and so much more on Learning the Acoustic Guitar, Part 3 on Let's Make Music. And it all starts right after this. Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Let's Make Music, a show all about music and learning music and music production, etc. All right. So we're going to continue on, as promised, with the acoustic guitar. This is the acoustic guitar part 3. And if you want to go get your acoustic guitar, make sure you're tuned up. Remember in the last episode we talked about tuning up and using electronic tuners, maintenance on your guitar, on your acoustic as well, and what you can do for to make sure your baby's maintained. And the other thing too we covered on the last episode, just to give you a quick recap. Remember, you don't have to go out and spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a Martin HD28 or HD28 guitar, or a Taylor, or a Gibson songwriter. Granted, great guitars, played them all. However, you don't have to go out and spend that kind of crazy amount of money to start off with. I mean, there's great guitars, acoustics, like we talked about, for under $1,000, and you can get a phenomenal guitar between $1,000 and $2,000 once you get going down the road. All right. So, what are we going to talk about on part 3 of learning the acoustic guitar? Well, we're going to cover some things about practicing, proper ways to practice, and ways to avoid getting in a rut, and about setting some goals for yourself on the acoustic guitar. I mean, what do you want to accomplish, okay? So when you're playing your acoustic, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? Do you want to, play in a band? Do you want to be a singer-songwriter? Do you want to just jam with friends? Stuff like that. There's a lot of avenues you can do, and you can do all of the above. Don't get me wrong. You can do all of the above. Absolutely. All right. So, these things are just things you want to think of, as you're going along on your acoustic guitar journey and your guitar journey in general. A lot of folks just want to play the acoustic guitar and they don't even care about the electric guitar. I mean, down the road, you may wish to, delve into the electric or, branch out and play the bass and, so much more. So once you start down this journey of making music and getting involved, if you get the bug, you may branch out. I myself am a not to, brag or anything, I'm a multifaceted type of musician. I can play multiple instruments. I dabble in singing. Some say not very well, some say very well. So it's all subjective. But let's get back let's get our focus on the acoustic guitar here. So the first thing I encourage you to do is keep your guitar out at all times if possible, depending on the environment you live in and that, but keep that acoustic guitar handy. Buy a good, decent stand to put it on. Keep it out, so it's there. If it's out and easy to access to get to, you're going to play it more often. It's just one of those things. You know, if you hide it in a closet or in a case under a bed, chances are and odds are you are not going to practice as much or entertain it there, because it's, you know, what's that old expression? Out of sight, out of mind. So just, you know, think about that, okay? So I try and keep my acoustics out as much as possible. I have a humidified room for that. The other thing is make sure you have a good electronic tuner. And always, before you begin whether it's a practice session, a doodling session, jamming with friends, tune your guitar. Always, always, always. Even after you've been playing for a little while, let's say you've been playing for a half hour, an hour, just check it, make sure you're in tune, because nothing is worse than somebody saying, hey man, you're out of tune. You know, more experienced musicians that you may play with or whatever say, you know, something just doesn't sound right there with that. So you want to make sure you're always in tune. And as you go along and using an electronic tuner, I recommend starting with that. You'll learn what sounds right and what doesn't. And if you pick up your guitar, and, you know, without doing the tuner, and you strum the strings, and you're like, something doesn't sound right, you'll know. You'll develop a musical ear as we go along down the highway here of our musical journey for guitars. All right. Now, the other thing I want to say is always try to at least spend 5 minutes a day with your guitar. I know. People say, I'm busy. I'm so busy. But folks, we all get the same 24 hours in a day. I don't know of anywhere else in the universe that you get more than 24 hours in a day. We can all spare 5 minutes. Okay? Now, I'm just riffing on an E chord here. I don't know how well you can hear this. I'm going to move the mic down a little bit here. And I'm going to riff on an E chord. This is just an E chord in the what's called the open chord position or cowboy chord position. Just using rhythm. Using a little palm muting. There you go, man. You're making music. You can throw some lyrics in there. Walking down a lonely highway. Now we're going to the A. Walking down a lonely highway. Back to the E. We're going to go to a D now. Thinking about my baby. Walking down the lonely highway. There you go. 3 chords, E, A, and a D. And it wasn't nothing fancy. It was just a little bit of palm muting. This is what I'm hearing in my head when I'm doing this. And I'm just lifting up a little bit on the palm muting. Now, palm muting, for those of you who don't know what that is, basically when you're on the strumming side of the guitar here, okay, I'm laying think of like the karate chop side, when you watch the Karate Kid movies or whatever, the karate side on where your pinky is, that meaty part right here, the meaty part. And I'm just laying that gently on the strings, okay, while I'm strumming. And then to get this sound, to get that, I'm just lifting up and strumming. So it's boom, 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 boom. I find sometimes when I'm working on a new song, too, just a hum. And we go to D. Okay, 3 simple chords, folks. An E, an A, a D, and then from when you're coming back, you go D, A, to E. And I just, that was made up off the cuff, right while I'm sitting here recording the podcast for you. I just threw some words together. You don't have to be a lyrical genius, just music is about what you feel. Music, 90% of music is passion, the other 10% is skill and mechanics, in my humble opinion. Now, some may beg to differ with me, But for me, music is about 90% soul and passion, the feelings in your heart and soul. And the other 10% is your mechanics and learning. And that's just what I would call like a blues rock beat or a blues beat. Now, one thing I want to talk to you a little bit about too is, you're going to get some people coming at you saying, oh, your timing's off, you're this and that. Folks, we all have an internal beat, an internal speed, an internal pace, an internal metronome, if you will. I'm just going to put this down over here on the stand. Always put your guitar in a stand. You don't want to, some people are like, oh, I'll just lay it on the back of the couch or lay it on a chair. Trust me, if there's a couple times that sucker falling down, you're going to be like, oh, I wish I would have put it on a stand. So make sure you do that. Now, we all have an internal metronome or clock, that thing that goes tick, tock, when it comes to making music. And you'll find your own. You'll find what BPM stands for beat per minute works for you. And I just want to tell you this one thing too, because a lot of people say, "Oh, play with a metronome. Play with a metronome. You got it." A lot of professional teachers will tell you this. A lot of YouTubers, a lot of your friends. Oh, you got to play with a metronome. You got to learn it this way and that way. Yes and no. I am of the school of mixed feelings on this, and here's why. I think back to the great blues people. I think back to people like, rock legends, Jimi Hendrix, etc. I have not watched any documentaries, nor have I read any books where they sat around and played with a metronome for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. People like Muddy Waters, people like, Albert King and all that. I have not read any articles. And please, if I am wrong, please, you out there listening, please correct me. However, I have not come across anything like that where they say, oh, Muddy Waters sat down for 4 hours a day and practiced at 80 beats per minute or 100 beats per minute in a metronome. I have not read anything. I've not seen a documentary where that has happened or anything, okay? It's all, again, passion, feel, internal. You'll hear it in your head. You'll hear the beat that, the songs you write are supposed to be. When you listen to a song on the radio and you find something that, oh my God, I love this song by so-and-so. When that song is not even on, you can hear it in your head. If you think about it, I'm thinking of a Stevie Ray Vaughan song right now, Love Struck, okay, by Stevie Ray Vaughan. I can hear it in my head. I can hear it and I can feel the beat in my head. All of us have an ability to do this, okay? I haven't come across anybody in my lifetime that hasn't had the ability, when they say, I say, hey, what's your favorite song? Oh, I like, well, can you hum? How does it go? You can hum. You don't have to sing it. You can know, and you'll get the speed and the tempo and everything. That's your internal metronome. You'll come as you play more of whatever instrument, and in this case, we're talking about the acoustic guitar. The more you play the instrument, the more you're going to, develop your internal metronome, all right? The more it will be tweaked and honed, and that skill exercised, and it'll get better and better and better. Trust me, it's not going to happen overnight. It will take some time, but it will happen. So just trust the process, as they say. Trust the process, and it'll come. It takes time. For some of you, it might take months. For some of you, it might take years, but it'll happen. You'll get better and better as long as you stick with it. You'll get better and better at these things. Now, the other thing is, we were just doing that simple song that I did on the acoustic right there, E, A, and D. Practice stuff like that. I can't encourage you enough to just, right from the get-go, just start thinking about maybe your own songs, developing your own, and you don't have to have anything with lyrics. You can do something instrumental, but that'll spurn and open up your creativity. And as you do that, and in the beginning, your songs aren't going to be great, okay? You're not going to, very rarely does someone pick up and start learning an instrument and then write the next American classic, okay? It's very, very rare. However, you'll get better. I was watching the Eagles documentary, just rewatching that the other day, history of the Eagles, and Glenn Fry was talking about when he was talking with somebody, and I forget who it was, that was telling him, just write your songs, and they're not going to be good, but just keep going, and you'll get better at it. I forgot who he said who he was talking to, a mentor at the time. Maybe it was Jackson Brown. I'm not sure. Maybe it was Jackson Brown talking about him or whatever. But in that documentary, there's a section where, Glenn Fry says, I was told to just keep writing, and you'll keep going, and your songs will get better and better and better. And as you develop as a musician and a songwriter, things will get better. Your first songs are going to be very simplistic chords, et cetera, et cetera. You might only have one or two. And think about this. Some of the most iconic songs throughout history very rarely have more than 4 or 5 chords in them. Let me repeat that. Some of the most iconic songs in history, in American history, pop songs, blues, rock songs, very rarely have more than 4 or 5 chords in them. They really do. I mean, there are some exceptions. There might be a quick extra chord here and there. But for the most part, some of them are 3 or 4 and 5 chord songs. It's the beat, it's the tempo, it's the way those chords are arranged, it's the arrangement of the song, it's the inflection of the singer, or what have you, or if there's no singer, it's an instrumental, it's, the arrangement of the composition that makes it a toe tapper and something you'll remember. So just to give you some food for thought, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about the acoustic guitar and how to practice and some things to avoid on this episode of Let's Make Music. We'll be right back. And by the way, don't forget to drop by the website, purplepitstudios.com, and check out all the other podcasts that we have to offer. Just go to purplepitstudios.com and find your favorite podcast there. Now, let's get back to the show. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to Let's Make Music. And on this episode, we're on part 3 of learning the acoustic guitar. And we're talking about tips for practicing and perils and pitfalls to avoid. So now in the first portion of the show, we were talking about, some tips, things to do. One of the major things is keeping your acoustic guitar out and available for you in plain view, because, that old evil adage, out of sight, out of mind. So, you want to keep your acoustic guitar out. We talked about just making a simple song out of, a couple of chords or so, just a simple beat. We talked about your internal metronome that everyone has and how you'll just naturally learn to develop it, and so much more. By the way, if you like the podcast, like we were saying, leave us a positive rate and review, and please share us with your friends. We'd appreciate that. By the way, we can be listened to on all your major podcast providers, Spotify, Apple Music, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcast, and so many more. So just make sure you tell your friends about Let's Make Music. So anyway, some other things here that we want to talk about on this episode of Let's Make Music with part 3 of our series on learning the acoustic guitar. So what I would highly recommend is, and again, we've talked about this on previous episodes and touched on it briefly, but folks, you don't need to go out and spend a ton of money and hire a private guitar teacher or and again, this is purely what I'm about to say subjective. So this may or may not apply to you. I'm just offering you my unsolicited free advice and what I've found that works for me and literally thousands of other people. You don't necessarily need a dedicated guitar teacher where you have to go to someone's house or go to a music center. It can get very expensive, very costly, very quick, and it can get very discouraging. Now, I'm not crapping on guitar teachers. Believe me, there's a lot of great guitar teachers out there, and that it's just, I tried it a couple times in my life, and it didn't work for me. I tried it when I started playing the drums when I was a young lad. I tried it for the guitar a couple times, once early in life and once, about 10 years ago when I was just starting up again to learn the instrument. It just really didn't do anything for me. I'm not one to sit there and read music. I know what a staff is. I know basically where the notes go and that, but, I have stated on previous episodes of this podcast, how many times did you see Jimi Hendrix walk out on the stage in Monterey or wherever, put up a music stand and open a book and then start playing? How many times has Jimmy Page, when he was with Led Zeppelin, gone out and put down a music stand and opened a music book and started playing one of his songs or a different band song? How many times has Eric Clapton sat there and said, "Oh, yep, hang on, let me get my music stand, put on my glasses, and I'll play this song for you"? Or here's a song I learned from Albert King. Never. Most of them learned by ear. Most of them learned by just playing the instrument and jamming with other more experienced musicians and things like that. Now, that being said, there are excellent resources out there. YouTube is a great one. There's lots of good content on YouTube, and there's lots of garbage content on YouTube. I made some recommendations, I believe, on episode 2 of this series on learning the acoustic guitar. People such as Marty Schwartz is one of them. Rhett Shull is great. They offer courses. Tony Pellicastro. Sorry, Tony, didn't mean to slaughter your name. If you're learning exclusively acoustic as well, he's got a great thing called the Acoustic Challenge. And Tony's Acoustic Challenge. Look for that on the website. It's not expensive. You can sign up for a year for a couple $100. It'll take you through. If you need structure, he'll hold you accountable with a daily structure program to get you through and get you playing that instrument every day and learning new skills. I went through it for a while. Great stuff. Justin Sanderco, great teacher as well. There's literally a lot of them out there. You can learn songs, you can learn techniques, some paid, some free content. It's up to you to discern and, navigate those waters and decide, hey, what's going to work best for me? Only you can decide what works best for you. But I'm just giving you some suggestions. There are some links. If you look up episode 2 on Let's Make Music of Learning the Acoustic Guitar, the second episode, I put some links in there to some things and a couple websites and a couple YouTube channels for you in there as well. Explore those. Just type in YouTube, learning the acoustic guitar. It'll bring up literally thousands of hits for you, and you can muddle through in that. Here's the thing, though, I want to say with regards to that, with learning this instrument, and any instrument for that matter. You can get lost in the fields of, it's like going into an open field. You can really get lost on, hey, what direction do I go? How do I pursue this? What I would recommend is get a notebook, a piece of paper, something. Write down 5 goals that you want to accomplish in 90 days. Easiest thing to do. Put down 5 goals. In 90 days, I want to be able to play 5 songs. I want to write 2 songs of my own. I want to know all the major chords. I want to know A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. I want to know all those major chords and the minor chords for those. A minor, B minor, C minor, D minor, E minor, and F minor. I want to learn 5 songs from maybe, simple campfire songs from some people that I like to listen to on acoustic, okay, or what have you. You want to write 2 of your own songs. You want to be able to, let's say you want to learn the A major pentatonic scale, the A minor pentatonic scale and the C minor. Maybe you want to learn that. Look that up, learn it, just set like a 90-day goal for yourself, and then every day chip away at it. The most important thing I can't stress enough, a couple things. Number 1, be patient with yourself. Be patient. Rome wasn't built in a day, and I know I've mentioned this before right from the onset with this when we started this series. Rome wasn't built in a day. Nobody, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, Jack White, Steve Vai, Randy Rhoads when he was alive and that as well too. They didn't just pick up a guitar and all of a sudden start going crazy and play songs and knew how to do beats and everything. It took many, many hours of practice and learning and dedication. This is a lifelong commitment that you're making, okay? And how much you put into it derives and is directly reflected in how much you're going to get out of it. That being said, it can be a wonderful journey, but at times it will have frustration. At times you will feel like, man, I've plateaued. I've learned all I can learn. I'm not progressing. That's when you got to reach out and challenging yourself. Because one of the dangers of practicing on the guitar, especially acoustic guitar, is that you get comfortable just playing. Let's say you learn the E, A, and D, like that little song I just made up on the fly here earlier on this episode. Let's say you learn those chords and you start mixing them up in different orders and everything. Okay, but you can get stuck into just playing that all the time. You pick up the guitar and you want to learn something new, and you go, oh, we default back to what's comfortable and what we know because it makes us feel accomplished. Now, it's okay. It's okay to revisit all those things. That's great. And it's okay to, keep, drilling that into your repertoire. However, you have to challenge yourself, and you have to maybe, after a few weeks of that, and you got the E, A, and D chord down, and you can go, between those chords and mix them up in any order, and you're comfortable, and you don't even have to look at the fretboard to play them anymore. Add another chord in there. Maybe add an E minor. Maybe add the G chord in. And start mixing those up, okay? Don't box yourself in, and don't feel like you have to box yourself in just by, okay, I got these chords now. You've got to challenge yourself. You've got to be your own coach here. And again, the internet, YouTube is a fantastic source to get a lot of information. You just got to be wary of that information. Your friends that play it, maybe you have friends that play guitar or what have you. Pick their brain. Call them, hey, man, I just took up the acoustic guitar and that. I know you said you played. Do you still play? Hey, do you want to come over and jam sometime? Yeah, it can be intimidating. I still play with a bunch of people that, some of them are far and away way better than me, but one of them in particular has been playing for 40 years. Of course, he's going to be better than me. That's fine because he helps me and I watch and observe and I learn things, or he might do a particular chord or chord structure, or he might play in a certain way. And I say, hey, how do you do that? Ask and learn. The Beatles back in the day, just to jump back in time here, when the Beatles were around, they got on a bus to learn how to play a certain chord. I forgot what the chord was. But they all got on a bus and went 2 towns over, about 45 minutes or so away, to learn a chord. There was no internet. It wasn't in their local bookstore, in their music shop. They heard so-and-so knows how to play this chord. So they hopped on a bus and spent a couple hours in an afternoon in a summer day and went to learn from the person that knew how to play that chord. And then the 2 that went taught it to the other, and then away they went. So, like I said, it's a journey. It's something that you're going to, you're always going to be learning new things. Don't get frustrated. Don't get discouraged. I believe the scientific parameters are that it takes at least 10,000 hours to become really proficient or at a skill. But just give it time. It'll come to you. The first 6 months are going to be critical in your guitar journey, in any journey of learning a new skill. But the first 6 months, especially with like the guitar, I've learned, and that's going to be your focal point, is to get to that 6 months, because you're going to have achy fingers, achy wrists at times. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have disappointments, but you're also going to have a lot of triumphs and victories. So celebrate those. Don't dwell too long on that. The most important thing, though, is just play, man. Pick up that instrument and play. Enjoy it. Enjoy the time. Set aside some serious time for practice. Also, though, in your practice routine, set apart some time just for noodling and exploring the guitar. All right? So thanks for joining us today for this episode of Let's Make Music, as we talked about part 3 on learning the acoustic guitar. We're going to change gears on our next episode, but we thank you for spending the time with us. And remember, if you like the program, please leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider and share us with your friends. We truly appreciate it. And if you have any questions for me, you can email me directly at letsmakemusic@purplepitstudios.com. That email address, once again, is letsmakemusic@purplepitstudios.com. And until next time, keep making music and I look forward to speaking with you on the next episode.